Hello, everyone. I'm going to do something a little different. It's a day offish, and I'm wanting to kind of, take a break from the worky kind of things and, have a little fun. Do something a little, different. I think that's the definition of different. And this would be it. I started watching it, Battlestar Galactica, that is, obviously, because I was bored and wanted something different to watch. And you know what? I watched it a long time ago when I was a younger person, and I loved it. It was enjoyable, fun, great story. Man, there's nothing negative to say about it. And then I remember I grew up, and, I started feeling nostalgic for, the old shows, and I watched this, and Babylon 5, and Star Trek, and a lot of Star Trek. And I remember watching this, and I just never could get past season 1, episode 7, 8. It was just so, I don't know, not the best. Anyway, I just recently decided to brush up on it, and I originally was thinking I'd, have some of the video playing in the background, but honestly, I have no idea what the copyright stuff is, because literally I didn't plan this at all. Oh no! So yeah, we're not going to do that, because and I really don't need pissing off, copyright issues right off the get-go. I mean, I don't think you'd get in trouble for doing a review and trying to promote a movie, but you never know. And I do want to promote this. It's good. Way better than I realized. Let's hit some of the topic points here. I'm going to just do it episode by episode, and so this is episode 1. And episode 1 is actually a 3-parter, so you're only getting the first third of the story. And just episode 1 is really good. Episode 2's weaker. Episode 3's... it's alright. There's some issues. We'll get to that later. But episode 1 is just spot on good. The setting is really solid. The story is really solid. The good guys, the bad guys, all of that stuff. Really well done. I literally, that's why I'm doing this review, is I watched it and I was like, wow, years ago I watched it and I thought, and I liked it when I was a kid, but, now I'm not a kid, and, I still like the Cylons, Man, you just take a look at those guys. Man. Really cool. But, the graphics, I think I watched it, again in the 90s. 97, 98-ish, near the 2000s, when CGI was kind of really starting to take off. Back then, oh, man, see, it's you watch something from that period from CGI. Oof. And that's kind of what I had with this. It's I watched it in the night around 2000. We'll say 2000. And I watched it around 2000, and I remember just thinking, whoa, man, it didn't age well. And now here I am, joking about the year 2000's videos not aging well. I mean, seriously. CGI from that time period is just painful. CGI from this time period is just painful. But that's another story. And we're talking about this. In that way, the graphics are gorgeous. Don't expect, stunning visuals. But man, you know what? This show is almost heading on 50 years. We'll say it's 40 technically, but I'm rounding up. It's 50 years old. It's a good show. It's got lots of character, lots of quality, and the graphics hold up pretty well. It's obviously a plastic model, and the other episodes it starts getting repetitive, and I'm going to mention that. They clearly use stock footage. Like the Cylon fighters gets a tad bit repetitive. But what really knocks it out of the park is the writing. And you know what? Honestly, the new Battlestar Galactica's writing sucks compared to this one's writing. If you want a good story, a really simple, solid, good, enjoyable story, this is your ticket. Um, I honestly, man, the writing is fantastic, especially for episode 1. Again, like episode 2 and 3, I get a feeling like the editing is just on the bad side. Not terrible, but every now and then you're just like, oh, come on, please. Why'd you fill in the blank? It's like, it really shouldn't have filled in the blank, but it did. Anyway, so in that regard, like the writing, man, 5 out of 5. The visuals, they're not modern, and if you take that into account, I would say 5 out of 5. If you want to compete them against modern visuals, oh man, there's no chance. I mean, seriously, like there is literally nothing this show has that can stand up to something in a modern setting. Of course, that assumes the modern setting has like a big blockbuster budget. And if this show didn't have a big budget back when it came out, yeah, I'd be surprised. I don't think it's a really long-running show. I feel like this is one that got cut short. And I wouldn't be surprised if someone came along and said, yeah, they spent a fortune building whatever, and the people paying for it were like, why'd you do that? We're never going to make our money back. And then they cut it off too early, and they never made their money back because they panicked. Man, they spent a lot of money on this, I am sure. But I mean, the graphics is hard to rate for its time period. It's no Star Wars, but it's pretty close, and it is a TV show. So, I mean, I think 5 out of 5 is fair if you compare it to its own age. Well, we'll go. Moving on. All right. The editing, yeah, it's watchable even with the problems. So it's like a 4 out of 5. You'll see, especially with me watching it, reviewing it first. You'll definitely notice the parts, and you'll just be like, oh, hey, yeah, that is kind of awkward. It's not like, oh no, end of the world. Clearly someone wrote it, and they're just like, yes, it's there, it's a thing, we're going to kind of ignore it and focus on the actual story. And it works well enough, but I mean, once you see it, you can't unsee it. Anyway, episode 1 doesn't have any of those problems. Man, if you're bored and you're sitting here watching me talk, stop now, go watch the episode, and you won't regret it. If you've never seen it, expect bad graphics. Okay, guys. I gotta say it. Acting is weak. This is. I've in the past had conversations with people about how the first real serial story is Babylon 5, and it's not true. This is the first real serial story, and in that way, this show is way out of the park when it comes to its competitors. Okay, seriously, guys, think it through. Babylon 5 definitely had like a huge major story, and it had a lot of complexity, and in that way it was way more ambitious than this. But this does have a story. Honestly, I was kind of watching it, and I was surprised when it went from episode 1 to episode 2 into episode 3, and I was like, oh, I didn't realize those are separate episodes. I thought it was all one pilot episode. Man, this show just kind of plugs right along. I get the feeling like they kind of took after the British style. I don't know if you know that, but around this time period, the British TV shows, they were okay with multiple parts to one story. And it makes a much better thing. That's where Doctor Who comes from, just in case you don't know. This was around the time of Doctor Who, so it wouldn't surprise me if they picked it up off of the British shows and they gave it a shot here. And it almost works. Almost. It doesn't quite. Anyway, acting is the biggest issue. Yeah, there's nothing to say. Honestly, some of the people are like a 1 out of 5. Man, some of the actors are just stop talking, please. I get more emotion out of a cardboard box than I do you. Um, yeah. Anyway, and you don't really run into them, I think, in episode 1. So yeah, that helps. See, there's a simple solution as to why I like episode 1 way more than the others. Anyway, yeah, be prepared for some stiff acting. Be prepared for dated graphics. But honestly, seriously, you're watching me. Why are you watching me? This is worth watching, at least episode 1. I'll put out a review for the next episodes here in just a sec. So, if you really want to keep watching me, you can. Probably use me to fall asleep, it'd be my recommendation. Anyway, have a good one.